Me, I am a memoir. I said a memoir. The meaning of Mariah Carey.
Hello, Emily. Welcome back to the meaning of Mariah Carey. Me, I am a memoir. This is Fab. That is Posh. We are in the middle of our breaking it on down glitter. I think because we had some Mimi moments last week, so we've blown out a lot. I'm not blaming the album. I'm blaming Mariah.
We have blown glitter.
I'm blaming Mariah for being too busy.
You have Busta Rhymed.
So no Mimi moments this week. We are just going to break it on down, and we're starting this with this very next track.
Breaking me on down. Let's hit up a little. Last night, a DJ saved my life. Written by Michael Cleveland, featuring Busta Rhymes, DJ Clue, and Fabulous, which is a cover of the song by In Deep, which was Tina Arena's studio album in 1997. We have a video, so I'm going to hit us up with a video, which is Mariah flips a vinyl and chills in a limo. Sparkly bikini. I think Virgin had given up by now, but Mariah wanted to do a video, so she just did it herself on a Nokia 3310 while she flips through CDs. Mariah has a LaToya Jackson sailor hat on. The end. So that was the whole video.
That's the whole video. Yeah.
But there was something very much like, well, I want to do the video.
Yeah.
So I'm in the back of the limo. That's fancy.
That's very fancy.
It's like I'm going to a club. Mm-hmm. So we'll do it like that. The first note that I wrote was, it's the follow-up to Killing Me Softly with his schlong. Because last night a DJ saved my life with his schlong.
Oh, I see.
That's all I could think of. All right, so I'm going to let you talk first because I have a whole spiel for this song.
This song is hot. Like it gets me.
Was that the Paris Hilton hot?
Yeah, like sexy hot. So I already loved this song. Like last night, DJ Saved My Life is one of my favorite. You know, if it comes on, I have to dance. Like I love it. Like the original. And if this one comes on, equally. But there is something about the timbre of Busta Rhymes' voice that vibrates me somewhere that makes everything feel amazing.
Interesting.
Like he's so deep and resonant and just he's relentless on this song. Like it's all Busta Rhymes, really.
Well, I have notes. That's specifically what I have notes about, but I think we've got opposing views on it.
First of all, how do you feel about Mariah's rap break at the end of the song?
Yes, I did enjoy that part. It's like the in the mix bit, which I did quite like from this song.
You don't
but
need to trouble your brain.
It can't compare. There is a build up to Prisoner. There's a rap at the beginning, and then there's a build up, and there's a rap.
Whereas
in the
this
middle,
one, she's just joining in with a bunch of other rappers. Really.
Yeah, it's just like we're just kind of vibing.
Yeah.
Like whereas it's like, oh no, I feel like Prisoner was like it was direct.
It was urgent.
Purposeful.
It was declarative. I will be a prisoner, baby, of your love.
No more. Etc. All right, so I'm going to go into what I wrote for this one because there's highs and there's lows, guys.
Because her rap on this has a very Blondie vibe, the cars and the Mars and the blah, blah, blah.
Look, Mariah's bit of this whole song, heaven.
Yep.
Here for it. I also really enjoy the intro and the rap coming in. Mm-hmm. I think that works really nicely. I think this beat works really nicely with a rap. I really like Mariah's smooth vocal. I didn't need as much, some, but not as much of the, yeah, woo!
Oh, I like that. I mean, that's a very DJ Clue kind of thing.
I think it must be. Yeah. It's a very DJ thing. I just thought it took away from the otherwise chill dance vibe of it. It's kind of like a sit back kind of vibe. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't have minded that so much if it came in gradually. And then by the end, he's yesing and wooing and hearting all over the shop.
See, for me, it just felt like someone's constantly ordering more drinks. Like just...
yeah.
In the VIP section. It's
and
like,
I think that's the thing.
Another one.
I did write, like I don't remember how it happens in the movie, but I envisioned it's the DJ at the club fancying himself a rapper and going, I'm just going to kind of yell over this Mariah Carey track.
That is
fine.
That is how it's done.
Is how it's done. So it just made me feel like I actually quite like Busta Rhymes, especially his stuff with Mariah. It just felt a little bit like maybe everyone else was a part of the song, and then they're like, "Oh, he's down the road. We'll just get him. Come on, we'll pop you on." In those moments, so the parts that are more like the what do you call like call and response stuff, works fine, and I think that's really nice. It's just it was a little much for me. I don't need that many years. We're not Usher.
I love it.
And I do wish if they'd not gone down that route, I would have happily stuck with the song exactly as it was. But because they did go down the I kind of wish that maybe Mariah had a bit more of a moment at the end. Yeah. Like a belt or something to be like, this is my song again, don't forget.
Oh, she has a little high note down the end. She gets a little...
So maybe I just want an all Mariah version.
I understand that impulse. I understand that. But I also, a part of this is also makes me feel like Busta Rhymes had so much fun on this that he's called her in more than once for two very good songs of his own.
True.
And we might not have got those moments without these moments.
Yeah, he's like, I'm going to say like 11,000 times over this track.
And then I'm going to get Mariah to come and sing on top of one of me. Yeah. And I'm going to call her Mummy.
And I think it's probably because I know that he can actually sing as well. Like, and he raps. But I don't know, there was something about... When he actually kind of rapped in this, it was fine. It was just those calls constantly. Which, I was like, really? So I wrote that I wanted to like it maybe more than I did. Because the beat's so good. Because I really love the intro and Mariah's vocal and stuff. So I went with a 4.25.
Right, yes.
On it.
Yeah, look, I'm... like again, it's a great song and I love it, but yeah, you're right. There's some things that, there are better disco songs on this album. There are better 80s vibes on this album. So and I do love the original, and it's, I like what Mariah's bringing to it. And I think if she just did it as a pure cover, like, which is what you're saying you would have rather heard, it would have felt just like, well, we've already got that song.
Well, not even that, because I loved the intro rap. And really, I liked everything except for the yelling. Yeah. And I even didn't mind that it was almost 7 minutes, which is so rare for me.
Because that kind of MC performative, owning a song by just yelling things out on top of it was sort of a thing that was happening at the time, like in music. Like it was like you go to a club and the DJ was also an MC, or there was an MC with the DJ, and that's what you heard all night was that.
See, that would annoy me. I'd be like, shut up. Shush. I want to hear Mariah.
I want to hear Gwen Stefani sing bananas again and spell it to me. Stop spelling bananas. Well, stop helping her with the spelling.
I think that's the thing. It kind of reminds me of the days of LimeWire when you'd be hunting down a new song and then you'd download it, but it's got music on demand over the top of it. You're like, I'll just get used to this because I want the rest of the song. So no, I did like that she was bringing rap into it quite a lot actually, and I think it worked really nice. And I didn't mind her more relaxed vocal. I thought it was really smooth. It was just Busta just can't. Turn it down to an 8.
I love Busta.
Not a 10.
I love every utterance from his mouth.
Just because you're horny for Busta.
I am. He just does something to me.
I mean, and heart, they don't even rhyme.
So yeah, I'm also going to give this a 4.5.
Oh, look out. All right. Next track, Want You, written by Mariah, Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, and Big Jim Wright.
Oh, Big Jim Wright and his Big Jim Wright piano. I love it.
Yes. So this was an interesting one. I think this one actually features Eric Benet, but I didn't write that down. I really liked how it started. And I was like, ooh, this is interesting. This is going somewhere. And then it was like, no, I'm not. So I was like, again, I wanted to like it more than I did. It just didn't kind of go where I had hoped. And again, not a lot of Mariah.
No, it's an Eric Benet song where she does a great duet with him. Like their voices are really simpatico, but they're just sort of, I feel almost like perhaps she couldn't go to certain places because he wouldn't be able to keep up.
Let's say that. Sounds good. If it's not real. It's like, that's why.
But it's a lovely duet, like as far as like a bog standard kind of duet goes. And, you know, it's part of the film. Like, you know, she does meet Eric Benet in the movie and they sing a song together. And this is the song.
So yeah, I just thought anytime we get 80s synths, I'm here for it. Like that really gets me excited for what's to come. And I just think that they didn't quite capitalize on what was there.
Yeah.
I think the ingredients were there. They just went, oh, well, let's just not do that. And I was like, but I wanted you to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess also you've got a couple of heavy ballads coming up. So it couldn't be a big ballad. It had to be a more slightly funky, but not too, you know, dancey. Like it was, it kind of felt trapped between genres a little bit. Like it's...
And I think when you've got something as urgent as Didn't Mean to Turn You On, it's kind of this moment. It's hard to repeat it, I guess. So for this one, I gave this a 3.75 out of 5.
Yeah, I'm going to give this a 4. It's fine.
It's fine. Yeah, it's not a bad song.
But after Busta, you know, like it's like you want Eric Benet to be fulfilling the Nads vibrating facility on this album, but Busta's already taken it over by shouting at me incessantly and urgently all throughout the whole last night of DJ Set My Life.
And me just running out. Maybe that's why. It makes me think of your Nads, so I run the other way.
Vibrating more than the Nads love.
Speaking of getting away, the next song is Never Too Far Away, and it's in brackets from Adam's Jump.
Never too far from my Busta tickled sphincter.
Oh my God. Okay, so Never Too Far. Written by Mariah, Jimmy Jam, and Terry Lewis. Number 36 in Australia. Again, the other side of the A side. So I actually remember this at the time.
Yeah,
I remember the single and specifically the chorus, and I feel like I'd almost forgotten it.
Yeah,
but not in a bad way. I think because the main bit that gets you is Never Too Far Away.
Yeah.
And it's quite a short chorus, so it doesn't sort of linger for too long, but then you hear it again, you're like, oh, that is nice, actually. Yeah.
Which I think Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis are very good at, and Walter always added on too much at the end. Like, he always went for a key change and another chorus.
Yes.
And they've gone, nah, get out at the big note, love. That's
just do the thing.
Yeah.
So
you've arrived at your destination. No need to do a blocky.
Just park the damn car, all right? Reverse parallel, you're in. So I wrote that it's not my favourite ballad of hers, but I think it has a really nice spot on the album and a great vocal.
Oh, the vocal is sublime. And again, it starts off cold, like Open Arms. Like it's that kind of just cold, breathy, open. And then by the end of the song, we are big, big vocals. We are belting, we're whistling. It's all happening. I love this song, although it is one of the more ridiculous moments in the film. So it never kind of... I can't really divorce it from the bizarre psychic songwriting and mysterious arrangement and lighting plot that comes out of nowhere.
Well, I want to quickly point out, just in terms of the vocal, even around this time, I remember people saying, oh, she can't sing the same anymore. Or I don't know whether it was probably mainly Rainbow, but then I was still listening to Rainbow, like the vocals are still there. But this vocal and a lot of the ballads on this album have really strong vocals. Yeah. And I'm like, it's still there. I know that she went into honey territory in Loverboy and Heartbreak, which isn't as in your face. Yeah. But that's because it's not a big
song.
booming...
Like she's doing a song to be played in clubs. Like
and so I don't think it was a fair... thing for people to be saying.
No, that's
when
not a good
you've got songs like this on the album. It's like, yes, she can still sing. What are you talking about? Like, and this proves them all wrong.
And like, I don't know if you're going to go there now, but like the arrangement she does for the Hero medley.
Yes, I've got that. We can go there now.
Like because she alters it slightly and kind of like gets from the beginning to the end in a really short space of time and whistles. She gets a double whistle in of Never Too Far, and it's like her vocal is amazing, and it's a great ballad. Like I think it's one of her best ballads. Like as far as like as much as I love Lead the Way, I feel like Never Too Far is more concise and more straightforward as a ballad.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I don't know why it keeps reminding me back. We're just going back to Kelly. There's a Kelly Clarkson song called Don't You Want to Stay, which is a country song.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I keep going into that in my head from Never Too Far Away into that. Don't know why. But anyway, sorry, that's
Never Too Far for me is just, I'm like, that is not a lyric, Mariah, but I love you for it. Never too far away.
And how do you find the Never Too Far Hero medley?
I do love it. I love that she's changed the key of Hero, and it makes it more challenging for her to sing, weirdly, but she nails it. Yeah. She, like, every time I've seen her sing it, it's like, and you're still right on top of that.
Yeah. See, it's funny. I feel like we're noticing the same things but having opposite reactions because I didn't like it. The Hero in the lower key. Oh. I think because it is a more straightforward song.
Yeah.
Written for someone who doesn't have the range that Mariah has. I think the original key, for some reason, and maybe it's just because I've only heard this medley once.
Right. You got to hear
There's something so iconic about it.
Yeah.
About her original key. And I'm like, that's maybe the one vocal moment that she could add that no one else could.
Yeah.
Is like, well, I'm going to sing it up here.
Yeah.
Gloria. So I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it. Either of them as much as the originals.
If you really want to torture yourself, you've got to watch the one where they unveil the stand she's at like a big outdoor concert and she's singing it, and as she's singing the Hero bit, they unveil. So all the bits of the stand at the stadium they're at are named after different, I guess, players who played there in the past, and they unveil that this one is just named for the 9/11 heroes.
Oh,
and it's just like.
Was that for the? I
think it was called.
We talked about it. America.
No. This is a thing called United We Stand. I think like there were a lot of concerts.
There was a few.
There were a lot
so she
of.
Was like, I'm going to smash out a bit of Hero.
And she sang this at almost all of them.
Yeah. Well, she had to get the.
But yeah, I went down a deep YouTube rabbit hole of watching her sing that medley on various shows. One in Germany, one in London.
All with their Farrah hair.
All with the Farrah flick. It's amazing. And one on it, like she did like a Christmas concert for a TV special. She sang it on there and had some, kids up on the screen who'd been fostered and adopted, and it was really cute. Yeah. It's just, I think it's just because it's a really good version of Never Too Far. Like it's like, it doesn't outstay its welcome at all because it's only half a song.
True, yeah.
And the same with Hero. Hero sometimes is a song that you go, oh, is there another chorus? Because of the Afanasieff. And it feels kind of nice, and it's like, oh, it's the best bit of both of those songs at once. And we're out.
And the curtain closes.
And she gets a triple whistle in as well. On some of them.
Triple.
It depends on the one you're watching, but yeah.
All right, so for this one, I gave it a 4.5.
4.5. Yeah, no, look, Never Too Far is... It's pure Mariah. Like, it is a pure Mariah ballad, so it can't be anything less than Infinity, I'm afraid.
Okay. And look, I will say, I've only listened to a lot of these songs twice.
Yep.
And so there's definitely room to grow.
I had many favourites on this album. Like, this was my favourite for a while. Lead the Way was my favourite for a while. Busta Rhymes was my favourite for a while. Like, and
that, talking about that, I really wanted to like
Funkin' for Jamaica was my favourite for a while. Like, all of them were my favourite for a while. But Reflections just, again, I kept going back to it and just pressing the number one button.
Number one. Repeat. All right. We're nearly there. And with editing, this will be fine.
Yeah.
Twister, second last song on the album, written by Mariah, Harris, Lewis, and Wright. Not what I was expecting from that title. I was like, this is going to be a fun, like a dub remix of something, like Daydream interlude. And it was not remotely that. It's a short and sweet ballad moment. Well, as in sweet sounding. But what's strange about this, why is this so familiar to me? It reminds me a little bit of Petals.
Right.
But I was like, I've heard this song before. And I don't know why.
The music of it is a constant refrain in the film. Like, whenever there's like a moment kind of with something, it's like, do, 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 do. Like that
Yeah,
that opening
maybe.
intro is used a lot throughout the film as like a motif. So it's like when you hear the Titanic song at the end of that movie, you've heard that
like,
intro
finally.
so many times throughout the film that when it comes on, you're like,
on pan
oh,
flute.
this has got lyrics. And that's the same with Twister. When you watch the film, like, I don't remember her singing it in the film. Maybe she does at one point, but that little refrain happens so often that when you hear the album, you're like, oh, this song has lyrics.
Okay, yeah, because I don't know, there was something about it. As soon as I was like, oh, I've heard, maybe it's in the book, and I was like, the name would have stood out to me, and I don't think it was. But so it's probably a mixture of that and
again, it's
just
very
reminding me
personal.
of
It feels,
and it's personal, and it reminds me of Petals.
yeah, it feels like
in the
I know this
delivery.
is meant to be about the mum, I guess, but does it not entirely feel like a song about Alison?
And it's the I cannot imagine, that part all just sounds like something I've heard before.
It kind of has an edge of what's the Michael Massa song she does, the Diana Ross.
Mahogany.
Yeah, it's got an edge of.
Maybe.
It's got that kind of
just
vibe of Mahogany. But yeah, it's but it feels very personal. Like, it feels, again, listening to this in the wake of the book, I'm like, oh, well, that felt like, like Reflections. It felt like, oh, it's a song from the movie about the characters. Yeah. And now it feels like, oh, no, this is a song about your ex-sister.
Well, I don't think it's a coincidence that there is some, similarities to Mariah's story and that of Billy's.
I know.
We changed some things, but I feel like that's a reason.
You kind of go, oh my God, if she'd been that upfront then as she is being now and candid, that this film would have been a very different thing, and she would have been pushing harder for that didn't happen like that.
That's probably what was meant to happen.
Yeah.
Like, she was developing this for a long time.
Yeah.
She was probably trying to tell her story, but it just became too much. Like you said, she almost turned it into A Star Is Born. It's just easier. But I will say, of the ballads, this is the one that I do, it just lightly goes out of my head a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Every time I've listened, I really like it. But for some reason, it hasn't stuck to me quite as hard as the others. But maybe just because it is short and quite sparse.
Yeah.
And so maybe, re-listens will help it stick into my memory.
It brought back a lot of memories for me listening to it today. It was like, oh, wow, I forgot about that. I forget so many of these songs. I forgot how kind of impactful it was. Like, how the vocals are really kind of, she's not showing off too much. It's like, like we said with, was it Outside where we went, it feels like she's so desperate to say this. She doesn't want to detract from it by dancing around and, by having any vocal gymnastics, because it's like, no, I need you to hear the lyrics of this one.
I know with Outside we talked about the production kind of taking away from it a little bit. I feel like the two, it might have been Looking In. I feel like that's the one where she's really raw. And then Petals on Rainbow as well. I feel like they're, and this kind of does sit nicely along. I don't know if it's as impactful
lyrically,
as those other songs,
I know, I talk about Reflections being like a sequel to Vanishing, in that it's just her and a piano. But this one lyrically feels like Vanishing Part 2. Sure. Like, this one feels like, oh, I'm so hurt by this situation, I have to now talk about her in the third person. Like, because Vanishing is addressed directly. It's like a you, you're vanishing. Whereas this is, Twister went and threw it all away. She did this and she's doing that. It's like talking about someone who's no longer part of things. So it's I really do love, like, lyrically, I think it's beautiful and it's quite haunting. Like, it's you think after a big ballad like Never Too Far, you're going to be like, oh yeah, that's it. Yes, yeah. And it doesn't feel like when Never Too Far finishes and then this begins, you don't go, oh, another ballad. No. It's actually it's a different enough song. So for this one, I gave it a tentative 4.25, but I think it could grow on me. Yeah. So I'm going to give it a moment. Look, this is, again, because I probably, if I was doing this album from memory, if I was judging it from memory, I probably would have given it a 4.5 or 4.75. But it just kind of punched in my gut when I heard it again, and I pushed me into infinity straight away.
Well, it must be interesting for you, especially like now doing this after reading the book.
Yeah.
It must be bringing things into a different
because I knew
light.
These songs and they were about characters. She always said they were about characters, and you kind of suspected like, well, any writing you do is you're drawing on what you know. Like the best writing is drawing on what you know. So you go, oh, well, there's something in her life that she's applied to recognize this as a performer. But after the book, I'm like, yeah, none of this is about the character.
What character?
This is really her. This is really her life. And and it feels very much like she's talking about Alison. And it's hard.
All right, on to the final track, and it's the first track again.
Yay!
Which is Loverboy.
Full circle.
Written by Mariah, Larry Blackman, and Thomas Jenkins, which samples Candy by Cameo.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I did get a little
did you have deja vu?
From an interview. Yeah, a little bit. But I got a tidbit from an interview where Mariah's talking about the sample issue.
Mm-hmm.
She said, let's just say they did me a favour. She said her voice rising in mock anger as she wagged a finger at no one in particular. and they know who they are. And thank you, sweetie.
Oh.
And your friend who did it with you.
Oh. Ow.
And then in speaking about Irv Gotti, who was Ja Rule's manager, I believe, he could have admitted that a year earlier and saved me a lot of grief. Kerry states flatly.
Yeah.
Because we talked about this. I was like, he kind of gets off in the book.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wouldn't be letting, like, I wouldn't know him either. I feel like I'd not know him harder than some of the other people that she also doesn't know.
But, like...
So it was just interesting
I guess,
to find that little moment.
As she found when she was at Sony, like, there's very little room to maneuver. Like, there's no saying no to Tommy Mottola.
Yeah.
And I think Irv Gotti was in that exact same thing. It's like, well, what can I do? Like, he could have turned to Mariah and gone, I can't say anything. I can't do anything. Like, my mate that I'm supposed to be representing will have no career, just as they're trying to do to you. So
yeah, sure.
That's the horror of a giant monopoly like that. It's you. Yeah.
I just love Sweetie.
Sweet.
So we do have the video, which is essentially the same as the remix video, except we do have a trophy car room moment with more outfits.
Yep.
I also just want to point out that when I was doing the research, as Mariah states in the book, it was the #1 selling song of 2001.
Yeah.
Just casually didn't mention the massive price drop that was put on it.
Hey.
I think it was sold for a very low price.
Doesn't matter. It still sold more.
But it did. So for me, like to bring it back to, because I didn't fully go into it in the remix because it's kind of the same song.
Yeah.
The thing about this one, I feel like I like it and I find myself singing it around the house. It comes into my head.
K-I-S-S-I-G.
Yeah, all of that. Anyway, so all of that happens, but then it's almost like every time I listen, it doesn't quite fulfill what's in my head or something.
Yeah.
I don't know what it
You're
is.
missing Debrat.
But probably missing Debrat. I'm missing her grandma.
You're missing Debrat singing a sample that they're not using.
Yeah. But I think it is simply the...
Hate on me.
At the time, the narrative of what was happening kind of affected it.
Yeah.
And I think having had Mariah only, a short 12, 18 months earlier doing Heartbreaker, in seemingly in such a position of power, and her sexuality was very much claimed, and being such a similar song, I think the narrative of Heartbreaker just won out in my head and my heart a little bit.
And that was meant to be this song. Heartbreaker was meant to be on this album.
That's true.
Like that was meant to be the lead song on Glitter and part of the movie.
But I did include. I said that in something, and I forgot it. But yeah, and so
it's almost like you're in trying to write another Heartbreaker, you're kind of setting yourself a really difficult task.
Yeah. And
then to have the sample
literally
taken away
the narrative the narrative was Mariah's crazy. And so I was 11.
Yeah.
So it's sort of imprinted it's that similar thing of, she looks like she's having so much fun.
Yeah.
And yet she's not. And knowing in the book that that video shoot was pretty much the beginning of the end.
Grueling video
like
shoot.
it just, there's something about it that just never quite sits well with me. So I just go and listen to Heartbreaker instead. It just has a happier thing. So I don't know. I always liked it, but I never loved it, if that makes sense. I was never able to, even now, it still kind of just has a strange association.
One of the other great, because the song keeps coming up in the movie. And one of my favourite moments is the scene of an epic mic drop. Like, but a mic drop.
I'm real. Mic
drop tanty. Like it is like a, and like a really kind of, but also in a way that's like, Mariah's, I know how much these things cost. I'm not going to throw it too hard.
Yeah. But I was going to, the other thing I didn't comment on until now, which came into my head earlier when we were talking, was when you said you went and listened to the Firecracker version and all that. I went and listened to a regular song.
Oh, and how did that
after
feel?
This? I feel the same way about that song as I feel about this song.
Right.
It's kind of tainted. Like I said in the court of law. I said in the court of law that I preferred the Firecracker version of I'm Real to the Ja Rule version. I don't know if that's actually true. I think it's just the sample's a good sample. So again, in my head, it's really catchy. Yeah. And the video is a regular person just kind of going for a little bike ride and feeling very free. So it has this kind of positive thing. Whereas because of the Ja Rule of it all, that wasn't my favorite moment. Yeah. I kind of always thought, I like that version more than that version. But going back and listening, I'm like, I don't really think it suits her voice. I think...
Or whoever's voice that is.
Well, it's her voice on the verses, and it's not her voice. It's not her voice on the chorus, because they're the same background singers that almost always sing her choruses. I don't think that is ever questioned. Right. But I just don't think it's the right song for her. The I'm Real bit with the other singers is really quite catchy and fun, but I don't know. There's something about it that, again, you just can't connect with it, because I don't think she's connected with it, because it's probably just, here, sing this. And so there's no, or don't. So there's just nothing. I feel disconnected from Loverboy and I feel disconnected from I'm Real. So I kind of feel it almost cancels them out, and I just listen to other songs in the end. So we'll touch on that more when we get to the
prolo-ness of it all.
Cast, But yeah, I really don't have a favourite of either. I think obviously Mariah's a better singer. There's no questioning that. No. I think both songs are well enough produced. Yeah. They're both catchy. I don't think they're the best of either of them. Yeah. I'm happy to sing along if they come on. Yeah.
Hate on me.
It's a funny old.
As you want to.
Maybe that's the best version. Just Debrat's.
Just Debrat.
Sample rap.
Debrat kind of lifts it in a way. And Ludacris.
So, it's really like almost childlike. Yes. It's quite funny.
I did not, because I was not familiar with that sample, because it was expurgated from this song and I was not aware of regular work. And didn't hear it until the Rarities album. I'm like, oh, yeah, that is so nasty. I like it. I like how bitchy it is.
And I do want to just be a fly on the wall of the conversations for both of them. I would love to hear
how they talk about each other.
Yeah.
Because people would bring them up to each other all the time.
All the time. And I mean, look,
you don't have to say regular names in my house.
Yeah. The regular person does handle it quite well in terms of just going, I have no issue. But I'm like,
a very good actor. Like, if you've seen Out of Sight, you'd know that she's a very good actor.
I haven't. We'll watch it.
It's her best film.
Pod. Yeah. Is it? I mean, I love a bit of Monster-in-Law with Jane Fonda.
And the chemistry.
There was a very... that's Made in Manhattan. In Monster-in-Law, it was
Michael Vartan,
that guy from Alias,
who I played poker with one time. Oh,
that's right.
It was either him or Benjamin Bratt. That's whoever you get out when you got a bigger female star.
Yeah,
Drew Barrymore needs to patch the teacher, Michael Barton.
Yeah.
Madonna needs to be married to someone when she's having a gaby with her friend, Benjamin Brown.
That's so true. He was in Miss Congeniality.
Yes, he was. He's always the, he could have been someone.
There was, because you mentioned a regular person on Will and Grace, and they were in it a few times.
Yes.
In the most
and
recent,
really good at it. Really good
in the
that
recent
show.
series, they were on Shades of Blue. Did you see that
where
one?
Jack was the dead body, yeah.
Oh my God. The moment that they pulled them out and it was her, and she's like, this is how you do it, jackass. I was like, oh shit, that was good.
Yeah.
Like, because they hid her so well.
Yeah.
And you didn't even see the curls.
Yeah.
So it was like, and then her head pops up and I was like, oh, yes. So that was a moment. I did enjoy that.
But yeah, I think she's a great actor. I will not take that away from her. But
can't take that away.
No.
Regular's lesson.
She should stop acting like a singer. That's not her
that was the
role.
other thing in the real song. There was obvious use, like purposeful use of auto-tune, which was very strange going from Mariah to that. Even though it was, I think, a choice to have it there, it was like, oh, that's interesting. But yeah, we'll see what happens with that discography.
You are too excited about that, and I'm terrified.
No, to be honest, I've not really listened to any albums all the way through, except maybe one.
Oh dear.
So I think there's them. I don't expect to be Infinity. There'll be some Infinity. Don't get me
There'll
wrong.
probably be an Infinity. I might get excited about Let's Get Loud.
We love a bit of Let's Get Loud.
do.
But yeah, so I'm not, I don't know what's going to, we might leave that and you're like, I'm 100% low and I'm mid-low. I don't know.
Deload me.
But yeah, look, in the
now
end,
Posh
for
Carey.
all of Posh Raya Esther Carey.
Posh Raya Esther Carey.
So in the end, I just had to give it the same as I gave to the remix, which is a 4. I just can't. I'm too hurt. I'm too damaged.
Yeah.
From all of it. So that's where I went with.
Well, without Debrat, I feel like it's just missing a little something. So I'm just going to give this Unfinity, which is Unfinity. So it's been like definitized, but it's not. It's not gone below Infinity.
Right.
It's just Unfinity.
We're just getting dumber as this show. Our listeners must just be going.
Someone's got like an Excel spreadsheet. It's like I can't put. They're not numbers at them.
Yeah, I know. It's me. No, it'll be. You know what? It'll be you when you try to figure out your 12-track Mariah album at the end of all this.
Oh, is that a thing we have to do?
You said to me we should do that, like a top 10 or a top 12, like make your own.
Crazy.
All right, so let's hit up some overall thoughts before we wrap this up.
Thoughts.
So
in Dungaree.
How are your Dungaree thoughts in revisiting this album as a whole?
As a whole, she talked about it in the book as a soundtrack album, as if it wasn't a proper studio album, and I get why, because it is schizophrenic. It's 2 EPs. It feels like an 80s concept EP, as we've discussed, which is our handful of 80s disco funk, and it's amazing and I love it. And then there's the ballads from the album.
Yeah.
Ballads, from a previous album, ballads from the next album. Like, it feels like it's very split in half. But I love the order of the songs. I feel like the choice of where the songs go has been very, very beautifully curated, in that you have your 3 disco party time, and then it's like, all right, now we're having reflections. Like we're going to have a little breakdown for some crying at the piano, and then Busta Rhymes is going to scream. So yeah, I do love the way it's been ordered. I think all of the songs individually are great. I don't feel like there's a stinker on there. There's no thank God I found you sitting down the end going, look at me, I'm trying to be a hit.
I've got 98 of the 100 degrees with me.
98 degrees and Joe. I'm just throwing everything at this one. Yeah, I'm not overly fond of the bookending it with the Lover Boys because I feel like the remix is fine. Like it doesn't. I don't think if anything, the remix adds so much more to it that the original just feels like, oh yeah, it's fine. But yeah, I like, again, some great surprises in there. I'd forgotten how much I loved Twister. I'd forgotten how much I enjoyed that vocal run on Lead the Way. Like, it's just amazing. Mm-hmm. And I'd never really clocked the disco flute before.
Now you're all about disco flute.
Disco flute and Mariah rapping. Mariah doing a Debbie Harry style 80s rap. And last night a DJ saved my life.
I would not have been mad if there was a little bit of rapture on here.
Oh,
just quietly.
Yeah, well, it feels like last night a DJ saved my life feels like, you know, it feels like the choices of the 80s songs that they're doing. Like, I feel like it would have been, we could do Rapture, we could do this. It's like I feel like there would have been 100 songs I could have chosen.
Yeah, true.
Like, Funkin' for Jamaica is fun. Like, this Didn't Mean to Turn You On is great. Like, it's a great album. Like,
maybe we can convince Mariah to do, like, to sample Rapture coming up next or something.
As part of her.
I'll tweet her.
More justice for extra glitter, for Glitter 2.
Yeah. Glitter 2 plus.
Glitter 2.
Okay. So my overall thoughts, obviously going into it, I had no idea what was going to happen.
Yeah, because I knew of Justice. To it, really.
I'd never listened to it. I knew of Justice 4, but I'd also known of the drama. Mm-hmm. We're not having the games. So what I'll just read what I wrote, which was, there's no infinities for me, but I do think it's a consistently good play from beginning to end. I can't say that about some of her quote-unquote better albums where there is a stinker somewhere. You know,
that you think is a stinker.
That I think is a stinker, the Dreadful Ones.
Beautiful Ones is a great song.
And I just found like, you know, I really liked the 80s stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I kind of wanted even more of that. And I almost...
it's as close as she's come to the... that Mariah Carey covers album.
The concept.
Yeah,
the concept album, which I actually wouldn't mind because we've talked about a jazz album.
Yeah.
I would like a full dance club moment, you know, where it's not remixes. It's, I wrote this as a dance song. Which she does a little bit in a couple of albums' time, but just one or two. But I don't know, there's something about it that I think if Mariah did that kind of thing, she'd do it really well.
Yeah.
So that it wouldn't feel like, oh, I'm just doing it for the money or whatever. It's like, no, I think she'd actually really put care into it and it would come out well.
But I think that's the thing. It's like, she's such a great songwriter that it's like, well, then you're robbing us of an entire album of Mariah songs.
Well, I mean, she could still do those versions as they're the remixes, the other ones. But I kind of agree with the whole soundtrack thing because I have always, when I've seen her talk about it, she's like, it is both the soundtrack and the album. And I think it's a very similar thing to what happened with Spice World, which was technically the soundtrack, but no one ever thinks of it as the soundtrack. It's an album. And I think Mariah, you know, the things that she's talked about has made me feel about it in the same way. But the disjoint in moments does make you go, oh, I almost wish this was the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Which is a bit kind of random. And then she just took these songs and did more Mariah versions. So the songs where it's heavy features, maybe she just kicks someone off and does another verse or just a little, and then be like, it's a 2-track album, like a 2 CD album. One's the soundtrack for the movie and one is the solo Mariah version.
I almost feel like
with still features, but not as much. So yeah, look, my main complaint with the album is simply the lack of Mariah. There were moments that I was like, I want more Mariah. So doing the 2 versions or something, like, it would have just been a little more for me.
But still, as you say, it's more consistent than a lot of her.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, I would happily put this on while I'm having dinner, or even if friends are over, just chuck it on. It's on in the background. It's got enough of a groove. I like that she's tried things that she's not done before, like the 80s kind of synthy stuff, because she was 90, like she started in 1990.
And as she said, she was kind of ahead of the curve with the 80s thing. Like, that came back in a big way within about 3 or 4 years of this.
But yes, I do think it sounded like Mariah's having a lot of fun, which I don't think I've heard from her as consistently in a long time. And Yeah, and look, the ballads I felt were really spread out well. Like you said, the order of the album was maybe one of her best. And I genuinely enjoyed all of the ballads. I never felt like, oh, you know, whereas,
Why is this 7
Emotions,
minutes of her screaming?
Well, yeah, literally. And on Emotions and Music Box in particular, there were so many that I was over them, even if they were quite good. You just like, and I couldn't differentiate them.
I accept that as a criticism, and I reject it at the same time.
But yeah, look, I was surprised. I almost feel like at the moment, you know, Daydream is still my number one, but I feel like this, along with like the debut, Unplugged, are sort of amongst the most sort of consistent that I would listen to happily just at random.
Yeah.
I need time for Rainbow and Butterfly to figure out where they want to go, and then Emotions is somewhere out there. But yeah, look, no, I did. I really enjoyed it. I was pleasantly surprised, and I would like you to hit me with your favourite song.
My favourite song? It's Reflections.
I'm guessing it's
the sun that obliterates all the other songs that I can't remember.
What do you think my favourite song is?
I think your favourite song is Busta Rhymes. No. I didn't mean to turn you on.
It is.
Yes, I got it.
I really would normally not like
I
that.
know.
Like there's something, but the ingredients were just right.
Because you don't like that syncopated delivery. Like you kind of.
I think it depends on the melody that accompanies, and there's something really urgent about it. And because you're right, and I think even Terry's backing vocals would normally annoy me, but there's just something that is just right. It's the ingredients in the right spot for my ear, and it makes me want to dance. And it just screams 80s. So it just made sense. And I didn't expect her to go that 80s.
I know, and it's pretty...
It's pretty damn... Well, it's literally the original track.
And it feels like a Shaka Khan song so much.
I do love Shaka. Yeah.
Like it feels like it could sit alongside I'm Every Woman as sung by Whitney Houston.
Have you seen that meme going around that someone's like, I'm a feminist, and someone responds saying, name every woman. And then someone responds with Whitney Houston. And people keep sharing it. I'm like, I think Shaka might want to have a word.
Even Whitney at the end of the song is like, Shaka Khan.
Yeah, exactly. Shaka Khan. So I'm like, don't be erasing my Shaka. And what is your least favourite from Glitter?
Look, it's probably Want You, I think.
Yeah, I have Want You.
Yeah. It just, like you say, it ended up being less than the sum of its parts. It felt like it was going somewhere, and it just kind of was... It was a nice duet in the end.
It was like we got in the car, you're in the driveway, you get in the car, and then you just sit there for 9 hours. Oh, I thought we were going somewhere. We're not? Yeah. Okay.
Also, it's surrounded by some great vocal performances on some amazing ballads, so it's kind of in a dark alley. Like it's not crazy fun like, Funkin' for Jamaica or Last Night a DJ Saved My Life, and it's not introspective like Reflections or Twister, and so it's just and it's not a highly produced glossy ballad like Lead the Way or Never Too Far, so it's just kind of it's like even All My Life has disco flute, like it just sort of has all it's got going for it is Eric Benet, and he's difficult to look at when you're listening. Because when I hear Eric Benet, I'm like, oh, I'm going to look at some pictures of Eric Benet.
Now I need to go, because I do know what he looks like, but I hadn't thought about it.
He's very pretty.
So now I'm going to... I was feeling mystical in that video. All right, overall score, I'll go first. I did the average and it came out at this, and I thought about bumping it up, but I couldn't put it above Butterfly, for fear of being shot in the head. So I've given it a 4.25 out of 5, and we'll see what happens.
This could easily be above Butterfly. Like, there are a lot of songs about Butterfly. It can drag the average down.
I think that's the thing with Butterfly is
the highs 16? It's like a lot of songs.
There's a lot of the highs of Butterfly are so high and so interesting, like The Roof and My All and Honey, that's on their Butterfly. And I've really warmed to the song Butterfly, and there's some really good moments. but there's also a few that I just don't
Yeah.
vibe with. Baby Doll, Dreadful,
Baby
and a few others that do bring it down. So I feel bad, but we'll see. Look, I'm just going to keep listening to them as we go on, and I'll see which ones I revisit. But I feel like Glitter is an easy one to revisit.
Yeah. And because it's so consistent, like it, you just go all the way through. And again, there were so many surprises on here. I was like, oh, and I think like I spoke about last week, I had some difficulty during this time with freaking out that, Mariah was freaking out. And so I think I have some difficult memories with this album. So going back to it, I was like, oh, that's right. All these songs. I love all these songs.
Yeah.
And
just the fact that, that narrative was so strong, and yet you go back and you're like, it's like that performance that Britney did at the VMAs.
Oh, yeah.
If you go back and watch it, it's really not that bad. Yes, she doesn't really look like she wants to be there, and that's fair enough. But it's not a train wreck.
And again, I think a lot of that was a narrative pushed by Sony.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you from being at a radio station, when Sony comes in, like, that's the most important person to come into the radio station because they have so many people in their books. Like, it's like, right, what do you want us to play?
Okay.
Like, it's, oh, you want us to push this? Sure. You want us to mention that about that artist that's on the other label? Seems ugly, but, whatever.
So what is your score?
It's an infinity. It's disco infernity.
Really? Where do you feel it ranks amongst the other Mariah albums?
Look, I think it's like it's consistently better than Rainbow. Like, I think there's a few black spots on Rainbow.
Ex-girlfriend.
Posh and
Which is really catchy. That's the one thing I'll give that song.
I told you.
Damn, it's catchy.
But I think it's built on some of this, like what's been happening with, Butterfly and then Rainbow. And then this is built on it, I feel like, better than Rainbow did. Like, getting Snoop in, getting Busta Rhymes in, getting Ludacris in. Like, there's some mystical, there's some great guest features. And I love, like, this is kind of my era of music when I was a kid. Like, I love this shit. Like, I Didn't Mean to Turn You On also reminds me a bit of the Prince song Controversy, which is one of my favorite songs of all time. Like, it is just a banger. So yeah, it gives me a lot of nostalgia as well as being a great Mariah Carey album. So yeah, I feel like it's kind of up there. It's up with the Butterflies and the Daydreams and the debut.
And all of her albums.
I don't love Emotions. I like some of the songs on it.
Yeah.
And I do love Music Box, even though that also has some ugly bumps in the road.
It's got some plinky plonk. What I will say, having now talked about it and listened to it in the way I have, I think it works better as a soundtrack than as an album. It makes more sense as a soundtrack having the features, because there are many songs that feel like Jar or Busta or Mystical or Eric feat Mariah as if she's curated it. It's the soundtrack. That makes more sense to me than saying it's her next studio album, which I think they maybe tried to capitalize and say it's both.
Yeah. Do you know what I do love, just from a progression and evolution of Mariah? Like, I thought when she and Walter Afanasieff kind of split up, I was like, oh, maybe this is the end of the big Mariah ballad. And so they matched her up with David Foster and Diane Warren for Rainbow, and, they did not work well together. They produced a couple of decent songs, but they obviously had some problems in the way they work. And hearing an Afanasieff song and Mariah with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis doing a ballad on here, and I actually think the Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis ballad works better than Lead the Way. I think Never Too Far has an edge on it as far as a big commercial ballad goes. And so it kind of makes you feel like, oh, okay, she can still make these without Walter.
Yeah.
Like,
see, I think My All did that for me.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that was with him. But it was a different kind of ballad.
I thought that was like her last. I thought that was the last one she wrote with him.
Oh no, it was Snuffleupagus.
Yeah, because I remember she said it was the last one they did together. Yeah.
Right. And she's like, you're not allowed to actually do anything on this. I'm going to tell you. All right, I think that does it. Almost glitter is everywhere. It's in every nook and cranny.
As it does.
I don't even want to speculate where I'll find it.
Busta has vibrated into places you don't even want to know about. All right, well, we are almost home. So next week, we are going to, and probably for the next 6 weeks, we are going to watch the film Glitter, and we are going to tear it into pieces and rebuild it into something even better than it was before.
Absolutely.
And it was almost perfect. Like,
we don't know what's going to happen here. It'll be an extra long posh synopsis.
Yeah.
It'll be like my video
synopsis
reads, and then Fab will just interject when we need to, and we'll see how long it goes
and
for.
Here is a fun game to play if you're watching Glitter, to watch along with us, is where is the glitter stripe? Billy has an idiosyncratic bit of makeup that she wears in various different places in different scenes. And it is one of my favorite things to do in the movie because I have seen it so many times. It's like, where's the glitter stripe? There it is. Drink. Please drink responsibly. So that is something to do when you're looking for it, and we will discuss the glitter stripes.
Oh my God.
But yes, that will be an epic. That will probably take us on for some time, and then we'll get back to the book eventually.
Yes.
To the final section of me. I am a memoir, the meaning of Mariah Carey.
And we're going to be emancipated
finally. Well, thank you, darling. Big air kisses. Bye, Lamely.
Bye.